Now, Mark, I thought long and hard about what joke I could possibly use that would be funny surrounding today's episode. And for the first time ever, we cannot open the show with a joke. The menstrual cycle. Well, it's true. I mean, the menstrual cycle of women is not something to make fun of. And quite honestly, it's not funny, period.
You're a bad man.
I am.
You're a very bad man. My Dixie wreck.
Guess we're ready for the show then. The writing is atrocious. Not a single joke come even close to remotely landing or being funny.
Get a little bit of gasoline. I'ma make it burn. I'ma make it burn. I'ma make it burn. I'ma make it burn.
I don't know why, but that is extremely interesting to me. I'm into that kind of thing.
Get to the chopper. Sorry.
I feel like we're so spoiled by the internet these days.
Thankfully, this does wrap up quite quickly.
Step back. You're gonna fuck up in a minute.
I'm gonna set your place on fire. Let's get higher.
How do you know about these people? And what the fuck is this pattern?
This effect made me want to die.
This couldn't make its mind up on what it wanted to be.
Get a little bit of gasoline. I'ma make it burn. I'ma make it burn. Let's go. I'ma make it burn. I'ma make it burn.
Hello, welcome to the You Run Podcast Horror Movie Review, a show that rides the line between movie review, comedy, and being downright offensive. We do this every Monday, and our episodes are available everywhere you get your podcasts and at yourunpodcast.com. My name is Scott.
And my name is Mark.
And I changed the start just to throw Mark off.
I know, I felt like I should have come in earlier on and be like, my name is Mark.
Yeah,
I have it timed rather than listening to you now.
We're your hosts as we navigate new releases and older horror movies voted by you on our Instagram polls, and we do that every Monday. If you want to vote for a movie, you do that on Instagram at You Run Podcast. You can also.
You okay? Do you need a minute?
How many beers are you in?
I went to the pub before we started tonight, so I'm already 3, maybe 4 beers in, and I've just opened another. So this is going to be fun.
Yeah, and I'm 4 in, and we're doing episodes back to back tonight.
So if you're listening to this and then listen to Renfield next week and wonder why you need subtitles, that's probably why.
This episode's going to be ridiculous, and Renfield's going to be an absolute shambles. If you're new to the show, welcome to the You Run Podcast. You can get in touch with us by sending us an email, yourunpodcast@gmail.com, or if you want to, you can record us an audio message. You can do that by an audio voice note on Instagram. Send us a DM with that and I'll steal the audio. You can also do it on TikTok. All you need to do is tag us, but you cannot use music. Loads of people have tagged us and I can't use it on the show because you've got licensed music behind it and I'll get struck by Spotify, so I can't do that. There are also lots of interactive features like 3-word review, memes to make you mad, hot takes, which appear periodically across the show. They also appear periodically on social media, so follow us everywhere and you get a chance to get involved that way as well. Each way we give... Oh man, it's going to be one of them. Each week we give shout outs to everyone who gets involved in the show, and Mark also scours the depths of Instagram for an account for us all to go follow. Mark, it's time to do the dance.
No, I'm not doing the dance anymore. You're embarrassing me.
Recommended account of the week.
So this week's recommended account is Death by VHS, and that is death.by.vhs on Instagram. I don't know why I need to tell you it's Instagram. You all know that's where it's from. Death by VHS is an incredible account. This is an account I've found recently since setting up my own VHS page. I've been in close contact with this guy for quite some time. He's a really, really cool dude. And like all of us who are within this sort of field of podcasting, Instagramming, Facebooking, TikToking, providing the world with our plethora of horror content as much as we can, we would all like to make this our living instead of working our mundane 9 to 5s. So he's my recommended account this week, purely based on the fact that I want to use him as a showcase to show you all that with a little bit of support from everybody, we can all live out our dream. And this guy, he is a video collector similar to myself, but he also is a fantastic artist, and he makes modern day videos similar to accounts I've recommended in the past, where they take modern day films such as the Evil Dead remake or Crawl or Insidious, and then they burn them to a VHS tape, and then they create their own artwork, and then they sell them for people who collect things from the yonder years but can't collect modern day content to go on their shelves with the rest of their shiny collection. Yeah. He makes that possible for you all. So you can buy the stuff from his website. You can also buy his merch, and he's a really, really cool dude. And I wish you would all go and support him. And I wish you nothing but the best of luck within this world of horror community. And I think that we have a fairly substantial following at this point. Yeah, I think so. I think we do pretty well. And I think that if each and every one of us all contributed a little bit to all of our plethora of accounts. I mean, there's people out there who listen to us, who we support and we follow, and we try and showcase the best that we can. And I think that if everybody all kind of comes together just a little bit and chips in a little bit, we can all sort of excel in what we're all trying to do. So yeah, so go and follow this guy more than any of them, and give him a like, give him a follow, buy some of the merch from his account, buy some of his VHS tapes, and help him get to where he needs to be and stand on his own 2 feet rather than having to work his mundane 9 to 5 like the rest of us. And the same goes for the You Run podcast. We bring you content weekly, and I feel like if you like our stuff and you like to listen to our show, this all comes to you for free. So please go and give us a like and a follow and a subscribe and a share and a review wherever you can. And that stuff makes a difference, regardless of whether you think it doesn't or whether you're just listening to us on whatever platform you are listening to us on. If you go on to wherever you are right now and you give us a 5-star review, that bumps us up in the charts and within the exploration sort of section of those pages, and helps more people who aren't as familiar with us from social media discover this account. And I think that if we all come together and start sharing each other's content a little bit more, we might all get to where we need to be in the future. Yeah, and I agree completely, but you do need to stop saying come together. Did I say that quite a lot then? A lot, yeah. We're all going to come together. Yeah, but I've had a few beers. At least I'm not saying 100%. This is true. 100% we're all going to come together. If you hear 100% more than twice on this episode, feel free to contact us at the You Run Podcast. This week we are taking on high school proms, why kids are arseholes, what it would be like to have superpowers, and menstrual cycles and their effects on women's mental health. We are going to get in trouble, and I can see it coming a country mile away. I'm sure you're all aware, but if you're not, and you're a little bit slow on the uptake, this week we're covering Stephen King's classic movie adaptation of Carrie from 1976. Bum, bum, bum. That's staying in. Here's the trailer.
It's the night of the senior prom. The Bates High School gym is alive with excitement. Everybody is there, even Carrie White, the girl no one likes.
We're all sorry about this incident, Cassie.
It's Carrie!
And everyone makes fun of her.
Free, Carrie!
The girl who lives in that creepy house with her crazy mother.
Help the sinning woman see the sin of her days and ways. Show her that if she had remained sinless, the curse of blood would never have come on her.
The girl with the strange power.
If I concentrate hard enough, I can move things.
But tonight, no one will laugh at Carrie.
If you don't have a date for the prom next Friday, would you like to go with me?
She's with the best-looking boy in the senior class.
He's trying to trick me again.
She'll be voted queen of the prom.
You know, I can make sure that you don't hurt Carrie White anymore.
For Carrie, it will be a dream come true. For everyone else, it will be a nightmare. Carrie. A new film by Brian De Palma. Based on the chilling bestseller. starring Sissy Spacek, Piper Laurie, and introducing John Travolta in his first motion picture role. If you have a taste for terror, you have a date with Carrie.
So you all get to score the movies here. Me and Mark do that later with our roundup after the review. Today you have scored this an 8 out of 10. IMDb have clocked in a 7.4 out of 10. And because Mark scores out of 5, we give you Amazon Prime rating, which for this movie is a whopping 4.6 out of 5.
That's pretty impressive.
This is the highest rated movie I've seen since we've been doing Amazon reviews, by miles.
Really?
Absolute miles. I mean, you look at Amazon, you'll get, I think, like The Shining's got like 4.1.
That's strange that this would be so high.
No, it's not. Don't start now. We're not there. Unlike Carrie, this movie is old enough to drink, therefore qualifies for a spoiler warning.
Spoiler alert.
I love the fact we don't give spoiler warnings for new releases, but if a movie's 47-year-old, it gets one. We will go scene by scene through this movie, giving all the plot points away. We'll share our opinions and our observations. If you've not seen Carrie before, this episode will ruin it forever. So if you've not seen it, go watch it, come back. Or
Yes.
if you're weird, stay and listen and then go watch it after.
People do actually do that.
I know. One of the people who does that is Texas Twilight.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so
Kentucky Vampire.
Kentucky Vampire. Fucking hell. So Heather, who's my co-host over on True Crime, she will quite often have not seen the movie and she'll listen to an episode to decide whether she wants to go and watch it, which is a wonderful way to do things. And Heather, you're great. So we're going to move on before Heather comes at us for Texas and Alabama comments.
Oh, don't worry. We've got a vampire film next. She is in for
it. Right, let's get into it. The movie opens up with some girls playing volleyball. Carrie is at the back, and to be honest, she's not very good. She fumbles a return, and the other girls are super mean as they go back to the dressing room. We cut to the dressing room where, to my shock, we're confronted by full frontal nudity of girls who they're meant to be at school. I like a pair of breasts and a 70s beavers, fine by me, but I kind of felt really uncomfortable. I know all of these girls are old enough to be naked in a film, but they're portraying girls that are not meant to be old enough to be naked in a film. It's just weird.
What is the age rating of these girls? How old are they supposed to be?
Like 17?
Yeah, but I'm not going to come off from this conversation in any sort of positive light, so we're going to move on. I wanted to say that 16 is a legal age, but that's still sounds creepy as fuck.
It is creepy as fuck. I mean, the rule I've got is if I'm old enough to be their father, therefore I'm too old to ogle them.
But you're old enough to be most people's father.
Fuck you. Anyway, Carrie is having a shower and keeping herself to herself until she gets her period. I would like to think that girls are more supportive than this. Carrie thinks she's dying. She started to bleed for no apparent reason. She's like screaming for help and everyone to help her. And instead of helping her, they kind of corral her back into the showers and then pelt her with various sanitary products while shouting and laughing and making fun of her. This is rough as fuck.
It's weird as well, because I even remember messaging you and I was like, dude, man, this is way more erotic than I expected this film to be starting out. And I was like, oh, actually, no, don't worry about that. It's just kicked up a gear. And like, it's a part of natural life, I suppose you can say. I don't know. I'm not qualified to deal with this kind of conversation, but it felt like the rest of these girls handled this situation very poorly.
Yeah, I mean, I remember like at school as boys, you'd all take the piss out of each other and you'd all like pick on each other. That was kind of a thing that all boys done at school. And in my head, all girls were really supportive of each other and they were like team girl. That's kind of how I had it.
Yeah, but you see, I went to an all-boys school.
That doesn't surprise me.
What's that supposed to mean? I went to an all-boys secondary school, so for me, it was fantastic. And I live in a town where we have multiple secondary schools. We have an all-girls school, an all-boys school, and we have a mixed secondary school. And I'm quite close with everybody from all different schools. And I always speak to people who went to the mixed side of things. It's like, oh, it's real strange that you went to an all-boys school. I was like, no, it was awesome. We didn't give a fuck. We just came in, stinking a beer, living our best life, taking the piss out of teachers. We didn't have to worry about impressing girls. It was the best time ever. But like, yeah, did you go to a mixed school?
I went to a mixed Catholic school that still had nuns as teachers.
And you mock me for going to an old boys school.
we still had we had nuns as teachers, and this is a school that my parents had, or my dad had been through, and his brother as well. And I remember my first day, like a little year 7, all full of joy and full of wonder, and like, oh, this great big school. And I walked into an art class, and there was a nun there, and she's called Miss Grelier. And I'll never forget it. I come in, sat next to my friend Warren at the back of the class, and she's reading out the register, and she's gone, Harding. I'm like, yes, miss. All of the is your dad called Daryl? I was like, yes. She's like, you will move. And she literally moved me from where I was sat to a desk all on my own right in front of her.
Wow.
That was when my school...
I need to meet your dad. Oh, no, I can't. Your dad's dead.
You can't. I'm glad you're preying on my trauma. Thank you.
Oh, it's okay. My dad's dead too. We can mock at these things.
Oh, okay, that's fine then.
This is taking a very weird turn. Right
it now. Is. I mean, my dog died last year. Do you want to have a dig on my dog passing away as well?
Oh no, leave the dog out of it, please. One thing I want to ask you about Catholic school preaching is, because obviously it's a very religious aspect, they're not very at one with the science world. So when you're in science lessons and you're being taught by a nun, do they undermine the correct terminology of science to try and make it more religious favorable, or do they teach you it properly?
The way it was taught is like you're taught science and you do all your experiments and you do your method, your conclusion, all that kind of stuff. And the way they gear it is that God has given you the ability to play with his elements. God has given you the ability to understand science. Isn't God great? That's kind of how it was put to you.
So if you got asked a question in your GCSE exam and was like, how does this X, Y, and XY, can you just put God did it?
No, because all that's done externally from the school. I did, however, on my French exam, I learned I was crap at French. I mean, really bad. So I learned how to write only smarties have the answer in French. And that's what I put for my essay question at the end of my French exam.
I can't imagine that went down well for you.
I failed French, but I did get a credit point because I wrote it in French. And I still like to think that the examiner...
That's like a sticker, like a smiley still. I have lost my mind. A smiley face sticker saying "well done."
It is, but I like to think that examiner was just in a drudge of marking exams and got to mine. And it's like only smarties have the answer. He kind of went, well done, you. Point for you. Anyway, we've gone wildly off topic.
Yeah, wildly.
Eventually, the gym teacher comes in to Carrie's rescue, and she literally has to fight her way through the students. And she's very, very hands-on. So much so that when Carrie doesn't stop screaming, she gives her a slap round the mouth.
Yeah.
The teacher tries to comfort Carrie, but she kind of pushes her away. And as she does, one of the lights goes bang, with like her first real burst of emotion. She falls into the teacher's arms and begins to cry. This scene is difficult to watch, and Sissy Spacek is incredible here and really shows what she can do as an actress in terms of showing emotion. This scene...
I'm impressed by her, especially later on what she does. She's a very odd-looking woman, and I mean that in the politest way, which is perfect for the role she's playing here. But there is elements of her portrayal of this character that is just downright uncomfortable, and I don't think that's so much in part to her performance, but just by the nature of how she looks as a woman. And I feel awful saying that about her, but she has this really eerie, creepy look about her, even when she's just stationary, like she's just she's an uncomfortable woman to look at, and I don't mean that in any sort of negative way towards her. She's clearly a very beautiful woman. It's just the way that they've dressed her and made her look within this role and said, be creepy and uncomfortable, and her facial features clearly amplify that because she is strange.
I want you to pin that now and remember that you've said that. And later in this episode, I'm going to share a story about my prom.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so pin that, exactly what you just said, and remember that when I tell my loving story of my prom. Okay, good. The teacher disperses the girls, and we cut to Carrie sat outside the principal office. The gym teacher, Miss Collins, is telling the principal that Carrie didn't even know that it was her period, and she's not surprised knowing who her mother is. Carrie's brought into the office, and she's told that she'll be excused from gym class for a week. And the principal keeps calling her Cassie, which quite obviously is pissing Carrie off. He does it 2 or 3 times, and when he does it the third time, she causes the ashtray to somersault off the desk and shatter on the floor. And this is the point where if there's any doubt, you now know she's got some sort of superpowers.
Yeah.
We cut to Carrie walking home, and yet another kid is being horrible to her. I'm a big fan of Karma, and this is so gratifying to watch. He's riding up the street behind her going, creepy Carrie, creepy Carrie, creepy Carrie. And then she stares at him, and his bike collapses under him and he splats on the floor. I was like, yes.
That's what he fell on the grass, though.
Yeah. She timed it wrong. She needed to get him right on the concrete.
Or into a tree.
Or into a tree. We now see a lady drinking what I believe to be gin. It was the 70s. It's mother's ruin. She was on gin. And she's watching daytime TV when her doorbell rings. She gets up and opens the door to discover Mrs. White, who is Carrie's mum, stood at the door. We mentioned religious headcases on the last episode. To avoid any confusion, when I say crazy Christians, this is what I mean. She is like the epitome of what a religious headcase is. So Mrs. White starts asking about the family again. How's your husband? Yeah, he's good. How's the kids? Oh, yeah, they're good. And then there's this awkward pause, and the mum's like, oh, would you like to come in? So reluctantly.
And she just barges through as if said, I thought you'd never ask.
Yeah. When she gets in, she's like, I'm here to spread the word of the gospel, and specifically the teenager's path to salvation through Jesus. And I'm like eye rolling, going, oh, fuck off, lady. The same as the woman is. The lady gets a call, and when she comes off the phone call, she comes back. She's like, look, I want to contribute $10 to the church. And Mrs. White, instead of being happy with this, is like in a right huff because she doesn't want to hear her preach. She's like, oh, fine. And then as she
she's
leaves,
clearly just trying to pay her to get the fuck out of her house.
Yeah, and as she leaves, she puts her hand on her head and goes, I pray that you find Jesus. I pray that your family find Jesus. Is like, get out.
Yeah.
I hate this kind of... Ugh.
We have one in our local town. He's like this weird little religious nut who hangs around to like the busy town centre on a Saturday when people are out shopping and stuff, and he just like calls people out. So like if you're walking down the street and you've got a t-shirt on and you've got tattoos, he'll start ranting at you in the middle of the street and be like, oh, God hates tattoos, you've disfigured your body, and then like he'll be like really offensive to like women and stuff like that. Like he is like the religious nut of nuts that you can imagine. He gets assaulted all the time.
I've got to ask you a question. How has that not become a reel yet?
I tell you what, next time I'm in town and that guy's kicking about, I'll take a video for my story and I'll tag you in it. But honestly, this dude is nuts. He's nuts. But the police always have to come out to him because he said something. If I was walking with my wife and my child and he said something untoward to either my wife or my child, like I've had it before where he's just said untoward things to me and I'm just like, whatever, mate, and just carried on walking. I just ignored him. But if he was like offensive to my wife or my child, I could imagine that I would be like, hang about a minute, what are you doing? But there's people who take that to the next level and literally like grab him and just pin him up against walls and stuff. And the police get called all the time to have to diffuse the situation and be like, he still comes back every weekend and he's there just ranting and raving at people in the street.
why haven't I got one of these in my town? Honestly, it would be my entire social media presence would just be me harassing the crazy religious guy.
Do you know what he's like? He's like that guy, the blind guy from Little Nicky. That is the perfect way to be able to describe this dude. I will try and get some video footage next time I'm out and about.
Yeah, please do. We see Mrs. White return home, and we can see Carrie watching from the window as she approaches. When Mrs. White gets in, the phone rings and she answers it, but we don't hear what's said. But it's safe to assume that it's the school calling home to explain what's happened today. Mrs. White does a thing that I hate, which is like, I know you're listening. Come downstairs. And Carrie comes downstairs very gingerly. You can tell she's scared of her mum. And she's like, who was that on the phone? And her mum goes into this massive rant like, you're a woman now, Carrie. And Carrie asks a really fair question, like, why didn't you tell me? To which her mum replies by hitting her to the floor with a Bible and beginning to preach the evil of sin and how the blood comes and she's the devil. During her preaching, I love Carrie. Carrie's like, why didn't you tell me? She's like, you are the devil. She's like, why didn't you tell me? She's like, but you are the devil. She's like, but why didn't you fucking tell me, mum? It's a really, really good scene. The mum is brutal and nasty, and she's up there with Nightmare on Elm Street parents. She's that level of dick.
Oh, and worse. She is the epitome of bad parenting.
Yeah. She tells Carrie that she will pray for her, and then she drags her across the floor and shoves her into a small cupboard. Carrie is screaming and banging on the door first to try and get out, and eventually she gives in to her situation, and you kind of know this has happened before. In that room, she has the most demonic-looking statue of Jesus I have ever seen in my life.
Oh, yes, she does.
It's got light-up eyes. It's the full works of creepy.
Yeah, and this comes full circle at the end as well.
Yeah, it does. And they make a big thing of showing this. And if this was a prop I could buy 100%, I would buy this and use it at Halloween. It's great.
You're weird, man.
I know. What makes this scene really impactful for me is the amount of time that Carrie spends in the cupboard. So when she comes out, it's dark. And she's obviously been in there literally from when she got home at school until night fell. Carrie comes out and says thank you to her mum, which I'm like, no.
Just trauma. This is just weird, man. This is bad. This is bad parenting, and this is the bad inclination of what happens when you mistreat your children. Because she is growing up in this world where she is now apologizing to her mother. This is like that. What's that thing called where you get kidnapped and you eventually
Stockholm syndrome.
It's like Stockholm syndrome sort of behavior where she's now like thanking her mother for the mistreatment and being like, oh yes, you've given me a time out and cleansed my sins. It's awkward as shit to watch, man. And you're just like, oh, please. You just want to reach in the screen and grab her and give her a hug and be like, this is not how life should be.
Yeah, exactly that. Her mum says that you can go to bed now. And Carrie goes up and cries in her room while she's staring in the mirror. As she's staring in the mirror starts to like wobble and vibrate. And I love this effect. I don't know how they've done it, but it looks cool. And then the mirror shatters. Her mum comes up and comes into the room and is like, what was that noise? And Carrie does what all teenagers do and go, what noise? I don't know what you're on about, mum. And her mum leaves.
It's clear from this scene, though, when her mother walks in that she can see the mirror is damaged, but she doesn't acknowledge it. She just sort of looks at it as if to say, and then sort of slowly closes the door. So it's almost like she kind of knows what's going on, but she doesn't, if that makes sense.
Do you think this is the fact that the mum's like, do you know what? I've already slung you in a cupboard for 12 hours. Probably doing more now is a bit much. Also, it's getting late and I want to go to bed.
That seems more plausible, to be fair.
To be fair, we all have that moment where kids are misbehaving. You're like, I should tell you off. But it's like 2 minutes before bedtime and I'm not going to upset you. I'm just going to let it slide. I know you punched your brother in the throat, but this time I'm going to let it go.
It's a lot easier if I say nothing.
Yeah. And that's why you and me have wives, because we'll sit there and go, that was okay. And then, and then our other half will jump in and go, why did you do that?
Always picking the easy way out.
Back in school the next day, we hear a teacher reading out a poem of one of his students, obviously heavily plagiarized. I don't know what the poem was, but it definitely wasn't the student who wrote it. The poem has been handed in by Tommy. Now, after he's read it, the teacher asks if anyone has any criticism. And very quietly from the back of the room, you get Carrie going, "That's beautiful." And then the teacher leads the class in mocking Carrie. It's like fucking abusive high.
Yeah, it's weird. It's
like,
weird.
He's like, "Beautiful, it's beautiful." And then like he's encouraging the kids to like point and laugh at her.
This film makes me not want to send my child to school.
Kids are mean. So mean.
But Tommy has beautiful hair.
Tommy does have very luscious locks. Were you very jealous?
I was in awe of his locks throughout this film.
He's got Bon Jovi level of hair.
Yeah, it's magnificent.
It is.
Well done,
like
Tommy.
Like a lion's mane. Well done, Tommy. As the school day continues, we find ourselves in gym class where Miss Collins is laying down the law with the main antagonist of the movie, the ones who are horrible to Carrie. We have Chris, who's like the ringleader, and she's chewing gum.
Is this RoboCop's girlfriend?
Yes, it is. She played. What was she called? I can't remember what she was called in RoboCop, but yeah, she played
RoboCop's girlfriend.
Miss Collins tells her to remove it. She's like, "And what would you like me to do with it?" Miss Collins is like, "I don't give a fuck if you choke on it, as long as it's not in your mouth. I genuinely don't care."
I like Miss Collins.
Oh, I do. We have Norma, who's dressed like she should be playing a banjo in the fucking clown cafe.
Is this PJ Souls?
Yeah.
Yeah, what this hat, dude, man? What is it with PJ Souls and this hat in this film?
The whole costume. Who in costume design went, "We're going to dress her like she should be hosting a kids' TV show in 1950. It's fucking terrible.
It looks like she should have puppets on either arm.
We also have Sue, who actually isn't an arsehole, but we'll get to that later. Miss Collins tells them that her choice of punishment was 3 days suspension and basically refusal of their prom tickets. But she's been overruled by the head teacher, and instead it's a week's detention. And they all kind of do this big, that's all right, sigh of relief. And they're just like, "But it's my detention. It's 50 minutes every day for the next week, and it starts today." Chris has an absolute meltdown saying she's not coming. And Miss Collins, again, great teacher, goes, "That's fine. You don't have to come. It's your choice. In fact, it's all of your choice. If you don't want to come, you don't be there. If you're not there, the punishment for missing my detention is 3 days suspension and refusal of your prom tickets."
Badass. Go on, Miss Collins.
Exactly. We now get to see why they are so unhappy of being in Miss Collins' detention. She works these girls almost to death. I was tired watching this.
Yeah, it's like a military fucking march, isn't it?
It's horrific. Sit-ups, push-ups, jogging on the spot, star jumps. I'd have been done after about 30 seconds. Miss Collins, while she's taught her in her class, Carrie is in the library and she's researching kind of what her powers could be. And she finds out that it's telekinesis. So effectively, she's a superhero. The torture continues on the track until Chris snaps. She storms over to Miss Collins and tells her to stick the remaining 10 minutes up her ass. Miss Collins, fully in for this teacher's response, slaps the taste out of her mouth. And if she carries on, she's going to knock her down.
I felt it as well. I felt this slap. It's like she wound it back.
Yeah,
just unleashed like a catapult to her face. I was like, oh, that's got to hurt.
Lots of people say like bullied kids and stuff will watch this vicariously through Carrie and enjoy it. I imagine this is a regular watch for a huge portion of the teaching population.
Living out fantasies of bastard little kids at school.
Yeah, all sat there when Miss Collins slaps her. They all have this big like, yeah, that's what I want to do. Why can't I do that?
Man, it's a different time. I don't know if this was acceptable then or not, but I imagine it would have been. I imagine as a teacher, you could have probably got away with this at school.
Yeah, I think so. Chris stomps off saying this is not the end and it's not over by a long shot. Without missing a beat, Miss Collins spins round and gets the others exercising again. Like, literally doesn't even phase her. This girl's had a tantrum. She spins round and goes, have you all finished watching? Best you start running.
Yeah.
Brilliant. We see Carrie read a line of the book on telekinesis before we cut back to the track, and we see Tommy running with his luscious locks flowing in the air. Tommy stops when he sees Sue, and we find out that they're a couple. Sue said she needs to talk to him and she needs something important, and they kind of go behind are they called bleachers?
I don't know, dude. I'm not American.
Yeah. They go behind the bits where people sit.
The seating area.
Yeah. She says she wants him to do something. She wants him to do something for her. She wants him to take Carrie to the prom. And then we cut as John Travolta enters the chat. I completely forgot he was in this.
Fuck John Travolta. And I say that passionately. I do not like this dude. And not just in this film, I just do not like John Travolta.
What?
Yeah, fuck John Travolta. He's so irritating in his weird rubbery face. And his every role he's in. Fuck this guy, man. He gets on my nerves. Even in Greece, man, he has that stupid little line. He's like, rocking and rolling. I do not like this dude at all.
How about Face Off?
Yeah, but that's only because he's trying to pretend to be Nick Cage. That's the only reason I like him in Face Off.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Solid statement, and I mean it.
Yeah, didn't expect Travolta hate coming, but
yeah.
Anyway, the best way to describe him is Danny Zuko from Greece without any of the redeeming qualities.
He doesn't have any redeeming qualities in that either. Right, we need to just wind this in now because this could go on for a while. Right, that's enough. Deep breaths. Right, continue. I apologise.
We're too many beers in. It's not going to help. This arsehole is dating Chris. Shocker. They're driving down the road and his friend pulls alongside them and throws him a beer, which he starts to drink before the cops pull up alongside him. He tips the beer on Chris as the cops pull up. After the cops pass him, Chris calls him a stupid shit, to which he responds by giving her a swift backhander to the jaw. The 70s were a wild time.
Yeah, this was weird, man. I felt real uncomfortable when I was like, oh, that's not cool.
When he done it, I was like, whoa, that's a bit much. We get a super fast cut to Tommy and Sue, where Tommy finally agrees to take Carrie to the prom, before nipping back to Travolta and Chris as they've arrived in a bar car park. Travolta's trying to get his own way with her, and he kind of pushes a few times, and she calls him a dumb shit again, and he slaps her again. I was like, fuck.
A bit harder this time as well.
Yeah, a lot harder. To which her response is to give him a blowjob.
Yeah, I mean, that works for you.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't imagine that would ever work for me if I tried those kind of tactics.
No, I'm pretty sure if I slapped Lisa, it would be the last thing I ever done.
yeah, she would do you, man.
Yeah, I think Lisa would use me as a hand puppet. As she's telling him that so she's given a blowjob while she's telling him that she hates Carrie and she wants him to do something for her. Now, I may be taking this completely out of context, but I was always taught it's very rude to speak with your mouth full. Too much?
I don't know. I mean, if she can multitask, then fair play to her.
Oh, that's a talent, to speak with a mouthful of dick. Well done, Chris.
Hey, maybe that's telling of how big Mr. Travolta actually is.
The Travolta hate continues.
Right, okay, I'm winding it back. I'm sorry.
The following day at school, Tommy goes up to Carrie in the library and he asks her to prom. Carrie is so timid and suspicious, and I can't tell you how much I love Sissy Spacek in this movie. She does that kind of terrified girl act so well. As she doesn't reply, she just runs off. And she's found by Miss Collins, and she tells Miss Collins that she's been invited to the prom. Miss Collins is like, "This is a great thing for you, Carrie. What? Why?" And she's like, "Oh, I know it's all a trick." And then Miss Collins marches her into the bathroom and like stands her in front of the mirror and tells her that she's beautiful and that she deserves to be happy. And if I'm honest, this is the kind of thing that Carrie's mum should be doing.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the whole subtext of the film, isn't it? Really, is that what's her name?
Collins.
Mrs. Collins is kind of taking that motherly approach with her and sort of leading her to the path of what she should be leading, and showing her what life should really be like. and you have that kind of element of this is the kind of mother figure that you should be having, and not the kind of torturous life that you're leading at home.
Yeah,
which is why I think I'm warming to Miss Collins more as this film goes on, is how understanding and helpful she is towards Carrie's situation.
Yeah, I agree. And it's this scene that sparked some real memories for me. So do you remember your comments earlier that we put a pin in? We can unpin it now. So the girl I took to the prom is very similar in behaviour and mannerisms to Carrie. And it wasn't until this rewatch, if I'm brutally honest with myself, she looked like Sissy Spacek as well.
I need to see your prom photos. I need to know what kind of guy you were at the prom.
I have a prom photo.
Please tell me you had a mullet. Please tell me you had a mullet.
I will share a prom photo when this episode comes out. I will share a photo of me doing the full Monty at my prom.
Oh my! Well, of course you were doing the full Monty at your prom. I would expect nothing less from you.
Yeah, I've got a photo of me at my prom on a stage, semi-dressed. That's the photo I will share.
Why are you the way you are?
I don't know. But this brought back some beautiful memories for me anyway. Miss Collins has big Carrie up, really big. And she then goes and tracks down Tommy and Sue. And she's like, what the fuck is going on? Because she knows this is not nice. You're doing something horrible. And they both reassure her that they're actually trying to do a nice thing. At this point, first watch, did you think this was a prank, or did you think they were doing a good deed?
No, you can tell in what's Tommy's girlfriend called? I'm terrible with names in this film.
Sue.
Sue. You can tell in Sue's face early on with the whole tampad thing and with the whole period thing early on that she is clearly not comfortable with the situation, and you can tell that she's got an instant regret towards that, the way Carrie is being treated, and you can see how this grows from that moment on throughout the film, and you can see that she's feeling very guilty for that instant and wanting to try and redeem herself. So when this came about, I genuinely believed what she was trying to do was the right thing, and that she was willing to sacrifice her own prom experience in order to help out Carrie. So I never felt that it was a trick or a play, and Tommy, being the luscious, beautiful, lock-haired man that he is, was just kind of going along with it to appease his lady friend. And you can tell that by this interaction with Miss Collins in the gym. He's just like laughing it off as if to say, oh, well, she's not bothered, so let's just leave it at that. And Sue's like, no, we need to do this. It's not her place to tell us that we can or can't.
Yeah, it's very much
the prom.
Yeah, Sue very much took charge of this, and I think you're right. Tommy was just doing as he was told.
Yeah, and I don't know. I kind of warmed to these two characters based on this scene in particular. You can tell that it's a very heartfelt moment and genuine, and like they want to include nice. Carrie. Yeah, they kind of want to give Carrie the experience that they feel that she deserves. And granted, it's come from a bad place with the whole thing that happened early on, but it maybe took that for Susie to realize and get to where she needed to be with it. And I really like these two characters from this point on, and I was rooting for them particularly. And yeah, I don't know. It didn't come across to me in any ways as underlying issues, like they were trying to come with some sort of ill intention towards Carrie. I believed what they were trying to do was right.
Yeah, and I'm with you. That's kind of exactly how I saw it as well. After school, Tommy heads over to Carrie's house and tries again to get her to go to the prom. The interaction at the door is priceless. She just wants him to go away before he ends up coming face to face with her crazy mum. And he kind of has her like in a really tricky situation. He's like, well, I'm not going till you say yes. And she's like, my mum's just woken up. You need to go. He's like, I'm not going. And in the end, she says yes. You can tell in her face that she knows it's a terrible idea and it's going to cause her loads of grief, but she's also quite happy that she's going as well. We now see Travolta, Chris, and their friends going to a pig farm. We see Travolta murder a pig while being egged on by Chris. Chris is the crazy one here.
Yeah, she is full psycho bitch.
Yeah. We now get dinner at the White House. I don't ever want to go to dinner like this. Carrie tells her mum she's been invited to the prom, and her mum's reaction is not good. She throws a drink in her face, and Carrie doesn't break, so her mum throws a drink in her face, and Carrie just keeps talking like nothing's happened, going, and he's a really nice boy, and I think you'd really like him. And then she gets water in the face, she's like, and he's asked me to the prom, and I'd really like to go. And she just doesn't stop.
It was really upsetting for me to watch this because it just shows how normalised this situation is for her.
Yeah, it's a horrible home situation. Her mum tells her to get in the closet, and Carrie says no. And I was rooting so much for Carrie here. Her mum explains that after the blood comes, the boys come.
Yeah.
They're like dogs. They can smell it. And she grabs her and she starts shaking Carrie. She tells her that it isn't happening, and she starts to walk away. As she walks away, Carrie screams, and every single door and window slams shut. And it's at this point where Carrie very calmly turns around to him and goes, I'm going. And there's absolutely nothing you can do about it.
Yep. And things are going to change around here.
Yeah. Her mum then throws in that her dad's the devil's already taken her dad. He's not taking you as well. And Carrie drops some truth bombs. She's like, look, Dad ran off with a younger woman. Everyone talks about it at school. Everyone knows it and accepts it, apart from you.
Yeah.
It's like, wow.
And the religious undertones are amplified throughout this whole conversation. I know we haven't touched on it much, but this is God is thrown in here every other word.
Yeah.
And she is shot down for her sins of womanhood and boys and all the rest of it. And Carrie takes a stand, and good for her.
Yeah, I'm 100%. But I root for Carrie so much. I'm like, yeah, you fucking tell her. Don't take none of her shit. Tell her where to stick her Bible. Back at school, we see Travolta up a ladder pouring pig's blood into a bucket as Chris holds a light for him. And we see one of the friends the following day talking to a committee member who is running the prom. He's like, I want to help. I want to collect the ballots for King and Queen. And the guy's like, okay, yeah, that'd be great. It would have been nice last week, but yeah, it's great. You'll be here at 6:30. And he turns around, it's his Travolta's friend called Freddie. And he's like, yeah, no, 6:30 doesn't work for me. I'll be here at 8. That's good though, right? Yeah, cool, great. And
I was laughing so hard at this.
I thought it was brilliant. Suit shopping. That's all I'm saying here. We get a montage of Tommy and his friends buying tuxedos. I've recently done this day out with my 2 eldest boys for their prom. These arguments and this behaviour is 100% accurate, apart from the fact you can rent a tuxedo for $10. That is not true.
No. How much is it to rent a tux these days?
£115.
Wow.
That was my response.
£115. I could buy a suit for £115.
But you can't buy a tuxedo for £115.
That is extortionate. And what, you only get it for like 2 nights, 1 night?
Yeah, 48 hours.
That is insane.
The worst is when I'm reading through like their returns policy of like if there's any marks or stuff that they can't get out, like how much they charge you.
Fuck that. I'd be like, kids, you're going in an Adidas tracksuit. Enjoy
it. You're going in I've got a Kappa tracksuit from 1994. You're going in that. We now see Carrie getting ready for the prom as her mum's protesting loudly from Carrie's bed. Her mum says, I can see your dirty pillows. To which Carrie goes, they're breasts, Mum. Everyone has them. Calm your religious ass down.
Dirty pillows. That is the best analogy I've heard.
Her mum tells her to take off the dress and they'll burn it together and then they'll pray. And Carrie's like, no, that's not happening. Her mum then tries to tell her that Tommy isn't coming. He's not coming. He's standing you up. And Carrie's like, just ignoring you now. Her mum starts grabbing at her, and this is when Carrie uses her powers to throw her mum onto the bed. Tommy arrives, and she throws her mum onto the bed like 4 times to stop her stopping her. And then she's like, look, Mama, I love you. I'll be back early. And she leaves.
Speak until I leave.
Yeah, and as she leaves, we hear her mum go, thou shalt not suffer a witch to live. But fuck you, Mum. Tommy and Carrie arrive at the prom. And to be fair to Tommy, he's so nice and sweet to Carrie. Like,
yeah, he's a heartthrob. I love Tommy.
As the night progressed, I would say that he actually starts to like Carrie. It's not just a job for him anymore. And that's much more in the books. So in the books, he falls in love with her.
I'll come back to the books later on, because obviously I've never read the Stephen King books, but I do want to get your take on that. But we'll save that till after.
Okay. There's a lot of Carrie getting her over her fears of firstly her dancing and then her ticking the box for her and Tommy to be prom king and queen. Carrie is a character that I root for so much. I genuinely do. And I'm invested in her all the way through. I want to see her get what she wants. And that doesn't happen very often in a movie for me.
No, I would agree with you on that as well. Yeah.
The ballot is rigged, as we know, because the friend is collecting all the ballots, and Tommy and Carrie win prom king and queen. We have several shots of Travolta and Chris under the stage holding a rope to the bucket of blood. Tommy and Carrie take the stage as Sue arrives to the prom to see her idea come to fruition, for Carrie to get that fabulous sort of memory of her senior year that she genuinely deserves. In the light coming sort of from under the stage, Sue spots the shadow of Chris and Travolta, and she opens the stage, revealing them both in an attempt to stop them. One problem, Miss Collins and her overprotective nature spots Sue and thinks she's trying to do something nasty, and then drags her away as Chris and Travolta pull the rope, causing pig's blood to fall down from the ceiling all over Carrie. The bit just before the bucket tips, in my opinion, is one of the best pieces, the best set pieces in all of horror.
What's that?
The bit, just the build up to this is like, you know what's coming, and they build up the hope that Sue's going to stop it so well, and then they crush it, and it's such a great build. I absolutely love this building moment where Sue spots the rope and she follows it up to the ceiling, and then she finds them, and you're like, she's going to stop them. This is brilliant. It's going to go well. And then Miss Collins wades in, who's been like the hero all the way through, and fucks it all up. It's so good.
Yeah, you see, I kind of knew. Obviously, I've seen Carrie before, but I'm talking years and years and years ago. But I've always known how this plays out. So I never quite got that sort of will they, won't they stop it kind of feeling from it, because I ultimately knew that it was going to happen. It would be amazing to watch this on release and never having read the books and not knowing how this was going to pan out, because you're right, this is a very, very tense build up to something that you kind of don't necessarily know how it's going to play out, even though I kind of did, and I guess everybody else who, even if they haven't seen Carrie, kind of knows that the ultimate end game of this film. But I would have loved to have been an audience member the first time this came out and just going into it without having any prior knowledge to the book and be like, because I would be there literally on the edge of my seat, like, fuck, shit, they're going to do it, they're going to stop it. Because it is, you're right, it is a very, very tense scene.
They don't stop it. The bucket falls on Carrie, and Carrie stands in stunned silence. The bucket itself then falls and hits Tommy and kills him.
This is very slapstick, isn't it? When it kind of does.
They use like the overdubbed sound effect. It kind of goes dong.
Yeah,
it's his head.
And I'll come back to the sound effects of this in my roundup.
Carrie hears her mum's voice rattling through her head, saying, "They're all going to laugh at you. They're all going to laugh at you." As Carrie looks around, and the entire school is laughing at her. Carrie loses her shit, big time. Which, for someone with superpowers, is not a good thing for anyone who's in the immediate vicinity of Carrie. No. Her expression changes, and Carrie locks all the doors to the gym. While bathed in red light, you get all the fire hoses coming to life, and like one of them strangling someone, the other one's like showering a student down, and that soon hits the lighting, and it electrocutes students and teachers alike. And I love the fact there's no target to her rage here. It's just fucking
anyone and everybody.
Everyone. Yeah. Carrie even kills Miss Collins by dropping like a bit of the ceiling, like swings down and like pins her to the wall.
Yeah. Gutted when Mrs. Collins died.
I was surprised she killed her as well, but that was a Carrie's gone, you were part of it. You were there.
I think that was pivotal to the story, really, of explaining of how far gone she has now become.
Yeah.
Because obviously Miss Collins has been so nice and warming to her and had that motherly impression on her. The fact that she is so far gone with her rage that even somebody as close to her as Miss Collins is susceptible to death by her rage is kind of important to show. I think it does a good job of showcasing that.
Yeah, it really, really does. And annoyingly, the only two who got away are Chris and Travolta, who were out of the gym before all the doors locked. Carrie's rampage continues as she then engulfs the room in flames. And I love the scene we get where the doors swing open, you see it from outside, and Carrie walks out through the flames. And as she's walked through, the doors fucking slam shut behind her.
Yeah.
She doesn't let anyone out at all. We see Carrie walking down the street as fire trucks are going in the other direction. And Chris tries to run her over.
I couldn't believe this, right? Because although Carrie has obviously had this mad moment of rage, Chris and Travolta haven't necessarily seen this. So Chris is really just on some sort of homicidal rampage. Like, I couldn't believe she was actually going to physically try and run her and mow her down. Like, her rage and her hatred for this girl was just insane to me. I was like, surely you would just, like, pull up and mock her or some sort of other incident. But no, she fully tries to mow her down, and she is traveling at some speed as well in this scene.
Yeah, it doesn't do her any good at all because Carrie kind of glances over her shoulder, and as she does, uses her power to flip the car, which it then turns midair into a ball of flames. And I think that's a fitting end for these two.
Yeah.
But
I'll be honest with you, though, I kind of felt like it was a bit underwhelming, if I'm honest. Like, I would have liked to have seen their demise a little bit more drawn out and excruciating in terms of justice for Carrie.
They draw it out more in the remake.
Yeah, they do. They definitely do. The remake's fantastic.
Because you get the floating car and she stops it and holds it in midair. And
you can see that kind of look between Carrie and whatever she's called in the remake. I don't know if they went with the same names or not. I say I'm terrible with names, but yeah, you definitely get that in the remake. They hone in on that a lot more than they do here. But again, I think maybe possibly because I've seen the remake and I know how much that dynamic is amplified in the remake, that I kind of felt underwhelmed by the way that this was executed here.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's necessarily a fault with this film. It's more just a fault with my own perception of how I wanted it to end.
Yeah, because I'll be honest, even first time watching of this, I wanted them to get far worse. I mean, Carrie's got superpowers. She should have plucked their arms off like you would pluck legs off a spider.
Yeah, and it just felt like Chris was the main antagonist of this whole film, but it was just it was over so quickly for her. Like, she got an instant death, which I don't think she deserved, if I'm honest with you.
No, I'd agree with that. Carrie goes home. We see her walk down the street and she walks into the house. The house is covered top to bottom in candles, and Carrie's had a bad day. And let's be honest, she has not got time to find out what's going on in Crazy Mum's head. She doesn't care why she's turned the entire house into a fire hazard. She's just going to have a shower.
I'll be honest with you, past the gymnasium scene, I forgot all about this film. So I was expecting Carrie to walk in and find her mother committed suicide.
Yeah, and I think that would be a different way for this film to go. They could have definitely gone there quite easily. It's set up to do that. Yeah. And that would then be obviously Carrie's big demise and she'd have her big meltdown. But no, she comes home, she goes, has a shower and gets changed before heading to bed. She's unaware her mum is hiding behind one of the doors. She becomes aware very quickly is that when she comes out of the bathroom, her mum stabs her in the back and sends her tumbling down the stairs. Her mum lifts the knife to finish her off, and Carrie fights back, going full X-Men.
Yeah,
and
pins which we get a scene that harkens back to the Jesus crucifix that we've got.
Yes, so she pins her to sort of in the doorway, one arm up, one arm down, and then she gets various knives in her stomach, and they mimic the wounds on the Jesus statue where she's been put for that torment for God knows how many times.
It was the, we get a potato peeler, we get bread knives, we get all sorts, but it's that like cake icing knife, which is basically like a spatula. It's the bluntest object in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And she fires it straight into her abdomen. I'm like, holy shit, that must have gone in with some force to penetrate. I was like, fuck.
I'm going to say it, I probably shouldn't, but for some reason, her mum dying sounds like an orgasm.
Yes. And to be honest, it's so funny you should say that, because I was watching this downstairs and my wife was upstairs in the bath, and this scene was playing out, and I was like, shit, it sounds like I'm watching porn.
The only bit that was missing was do, 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 do.
Is that the theme tune to most of the porn you watch?
That's the theme tune to Pornhub, which I think most people watch. No, don't pretend like you don't know what the tune to Pornhub is.
I have no idea what you are talking
you
about, you dirty, dirty-minded little boy.
Carrie takes down her mum's body, and then she climbs into the cupboard with her mum. And this is where the house begins to crumble around them. The house sinks into the floor, taking Carrie and her mum with it. Carrie deserved better than this.
Do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I know she's just murdered like 50 people, but she deserved better.
I mean, these were all innocent people as well, barring the 5 people who have mocked her and tormented her. Everybody else was like quite happy and glad that she'd succeeded and got prom queen, and they all wanted her to succeed just as much as Susie did. So I kind of didn't want her to have a redeeming arc, if I'm honest with you. So this for me was quite full circle.
Yeah, I didn't like it. We jump forward in time, but we don't know how much time has gone past, and we find out that Sue has survived. We hear her mum take a call saying she's doing okay, but she's sleeping too much. We fade to Sue taking flowers to the site of Carrie's old house. As she lays them down, we get one of the best and most unexpected jump scares in all of horror, if you've not seen this before, as Carrie's hand bursts out of the ground and grabs Sue's arm.
We have the ending to Friday the 13th.
or any of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. Pick one.
Pretty much, yeah, pretty much. Did you pick up on the thing that I put in my notes about this scene? She's walking to drop the flowers.
What did you put in your notes? I haven't seen your notes. How do I know if I picked it up and I haven't seen what you've written?
No, but I'm kind of assuming you would have got it as well. Did you see when she's walking to drop the flowers, all of the cars behind her are moving in reverse? Did you pick up on that?
No, I genuinely didn't.
Fuck off, man. You've seen this film like a million times.
Yeah, and I've never spotted that.
When she's walking down the street with the flowers in her arms, all the cars behind her are moving in reverse. So you start with the red Beetle, which is sort of parallel to her as she's walking down the street, and it looks almost as if it's reversing down the street. But then at the bottom of the street, there's an intersection. I think that's what they call it in America. And there's a car that comes across the intersection in reverse.
No, I didn't spot
Go back
that.
and watch that, because I put in my notes, I was like, what the fuck is this? What's going on? Why are all the cars going in reverse? And then obviously the hand jumps up and
I thought
Susie wakes up and it's a dream sequence, which made perfect sense to me at the time. But when I was watching it originally, I was like, what the fuck? Why are all these cars going backwards?
Yeah, see, I spotted the Beetle and I just assumed it was reversing down the road. I didn't
notice the car. I did initially. I watched it a few times because I was unsure about it. But no, the Beetle looks as if it's reversing down the street, but it also gets to the intersection at the bottom, and then there's another red car that comes across the intersection in reverse. So all the cars are actually going backwards. So I was like, why are all the cars going backwards? This is so confusing to me. And then it turns out, obviously, Carrie's hand bursts out, grabs Susie's arm, and she wakes up from her dream, which is a dream sequence. But it is a very lucid sort of otherworldly kind of experience. Everything's hyper realistic, and you kind of, the more the scene progresses, you kind of get a sense that it might not be real.
Yeah, and this dream sequence, I'm going to say it now, Wes Craven watched this and built an entire franchise on the back of it.
Yeah, there's so many elements of this film. Even early on, when we was talking about the kid who gets mowed down where he's following Carrie and he's like, oh, crazy Carrie, crazy Carrie. Man, you could take that and you could put that in the opening sequence of Halloween 1978, where Michael Myers is stood behind the bush, and they're the exact same street. There is so many influences pulled from this film throughout the world of horror. And I guess you don't necessarily realize them until you watch this with a wider scope of knowledge. And me being a big horror fan and not necessarily showing as much attention to Carrie as I possibly should have done, when I was watching this now, the other night, I was watching it, I was like, oh, that's Halloween. Oh, that's Friday the 13th. Oh, that's Nightmare on Elm Street. There are so many films that are drawn from this, and you can't help but appreciate this film for what it is, because it has definitely paved the way in terms of cinematography for a lot of directors out there.
Yeah, and I love the thought of a younger John Carpenter or a younger Wes Craven sat down watching this and going, "That's good.
Yeah,
I can."
And
use
they've
that.
clearly done that. Yeah, they have.
Yeah.
They have nicked quite a lot from this.
Yeah, they have. Credits roll. I've got a lot to say about this in Roundup. But before I do, let's find out what you all think.
It's time for Hot Takes.
We've got Heaven Nights. Tommy Ross is poorly portrayed in this movie. I feel the novel, he had so much more character to him, showed genuine interest in Carrie and fell in love with her. But the movie, he is so bland and boring.
Oh, I liked Hunky Tommy.
I liked Hunky Tommy. In the book, he does get a lot more character development. There is a bit where he's falling madly in love with Carrie and he's battling with feelings he's got for Sue and whether he should be with Carrie. And they don't flesh that out in the film. They just don't have time to.
No, which is understandable. But you can kind of see, especially in the prom scene, that is very evident.
Yeah, very, very evident. We've got Nature's Poet Dreamer. It's my favourite movie of all time. It made me laugh, cry and scream. I think I love it so much because I identified with Carrie. I had an abusive father, and in my case, I was bullied. Lady Crisis. Every bullied teen fantasy to live vicariously through Carrie's revenge. And finally, Skellington Fan. Very relatable to me. This movie, unfortunately, from a lot of the hot takes we got, is very relatable to lots of people. And it tackles issues of bullying, mental and physical abuse. And I know this show's really lighthearted and we do lots of jokes and we have a good time. But if you're suffering with anything that's covered in this movie or today's episode, speak to someone, a teacher, a family member, a friend. Fuck, if you want, me or Mark, our DMs are always open. I can't say we'll solve your problems or your problems will be solved overnight, but I can tell you they will not get solved unless you speak to somebody.
Very well said, sir.
On that serious note...
Hey, Scoob! It's time for facts, bro!
My favourite fact about this movie is in the trailer, they spelt Stephen King's name wrong.
Really?
Because Stephen King, when this came out... Stephen King now is the king of horror, but when this came out, Stephen King was fucking nobody. No one knew Stephen King.
Was this his first adaptation?
It was his first book.
Oh, yeah, but was this his first mainstream adaptation? Right. Okay.
Yes, yeah, it was. So yeah, they spelt it instead of Stephen, they spelt it with a V.
Oh,
can you imagine?
I've got a copy of it. I wonder if it's spelled like that on that copy that I've got on VHS.
It was on the trailer. They spelt it wrong. How devastated would you have been if Stephen King? Yeah, the trailer's out today, and he sits down to watch it. He goes to a cinema to watch a movie to see his trailer, and they've spelt his name wrong.
I mean, I don't know. Considering this was his first sort of introduction into everything, I'd be like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I'll take it.
It's still mad.
Piper Laurie and Nancy Allen, who play Chris and Mrs. White, after they got the script, both assumed that they were the comic relief, like the goofball characters, and they didn't realise how serious of tone the movie would have until they started filming. They kind of thought this was almost a horror comedy. And then when they got to set and were told, this is how you're playing it, both of them were like, oh, this isn't what we signed up for.
That's interesting. Especially Mrs. White as well.
Yeah, so Mrs. White thought she was like the comic character. She thought she was like the goofball mum who was like really mean, but it was done in like a funny way and the audience would get a chuckle.
That's strange because her performance in this is like Oscar worthy.
Yeah, really, really good. And I think that was a case of once she got to set that she's like probably done one scene where she played it off quite funny and the director's gone, no, I want you to be really nasty and sinister with that line.
Yeah.
That must have been a moment where I've gone, she must have gone, I need a minute to go away and like change my whole attitude and reread the script and I'll come back. Carrie is King's first book. Which I said a minute ago, he sold the rights to this for this movie. How much do you reckon he sold the rights for?
It'll be something stupid. I'm going to go 100 grand.
He would have been over the moon if he'd got 100 grand for this. He sold the rights to Carrie for $2,500.
Wow. So for all the profits that this film makes, he doesn't see a beam?
No, he sold the rights for $2,500.
Oh, wow.
He said to this day that he doesn't regret it for a second. It was his first adaptation, and he was the happiest he'd ever been when he got that check.
Wait till they touch The Shining, mate.
Yeah. When filming the prom scene, that was filmed over 3 days. Sissy Spacek didn't want there to be any continuity errors with her makeup or her clothing, so she didn't get changed for 3 days. She slept in a trailer outside the school hall where they filmed it, and she went to bed wearing what she was wearing the day before, come back in, shot again, went to bed the next day. So for 3 whole days, she spent in a blood-soaked prom gown.
Wow, she must have stank to high heavens.
She would not have been nice. It was the success of this movie that cemented Stephen King as a horror writer, and it's one of the only movie adaptations he actually likes.
I've always been curious about that fact because there is a lot. I mean, there is a fucking lot of Stephen King adaptations in the universe. How involved was he with the remake? Did he regain rights to this, or was that
no
studio-owned thing?
That was a studio-owned thing. He had nothing to do with it other than his name was put on it, because by the time it was remade, it was the name Stephen King is going to sell this, not the name Carrie.
But then he's got so many other things, such as like Pet Sematary. The original Pet Sematary is phenomenal.
Yeah.
He doesn't like that either.
We'll get to that when we do Pet Sematary in a couple of weeks.
Oh, okay. Stay tuned, folks.
Yeah, stay tuned.
Long-awaited answer.
Long-awaited answer to this fact. All of the teen cast were over 25 when they filmed this, which kind of makes me feel less creepy about the shower scene that we get at the beginning. In that shower scene, you know, Sissy Spacek is terrorized and tormented in the showers. She was the only member of cast on set for that scene. It was all cut together. She filmed that scene on her own with no one there. It was the crew who were throwing the tampons at her.
Is that due to nudity things or?
No, that was due to the fact that she basically said, I can do this on my own. You don't need everyone else here.
All right.
But
why?
I don't know. I guess
fair play to her as an actor to be able to portray that without needing the ridicule and the sort of onslaught of abuse that she was receiving from the cast members. If she could portray that without needing it there physically for her, then yeah, I mean, good for her.
I've got 2 more little quick facts. So one of them, you know, where they're doing the bit where they're spinning for the so they're on a spinning platform, and they've got a camera set up on a track that's going the opposite way to give that spinning effect.
That's cool. I mean, there is some incredible cinematography here and editing techniques that I will touch upon on their roundup. But yeah, that's cool.
Really, really cool. My last one, Sissy Spacek done 95% of her scenes in one take.
Bravo, Sissy Spacek.
Fucking bravo. Especially some of the scenes in this. They're not easy scenes to pull off, especially the ones packed with emotion. And literally it was a case of they'd go action, she'd do it, they'd call cut, and they'd go sort of all look at each other, go, well, I guess we're on to the next scene then. Well, that'll do.
The thing that really amazes me about this is she is an incredible, incredible actress, and she clearly portrays that in this film. But she's not very well known. She seems to have had a resurgence in her career as a elderly lady in films or TV programs and stuff like that. But yeah, not necessarily off the back of this.
No,
it's more based on the fact that she's a horror icon now, and that they get her in for bit parts in horror TV shows and movies than anything else.
But she didn't get the career she deserved, and you could say that about a lot of screen queens. Take Jamie Lee Curtis out of the mix. A lot of Heather Langenkamp didn't get the career she deserved.
Yeah, but I had issues with Heather Langenkamp's performance in the first Nightmare on Elm Street film. I didn't think, as phenomenal as she is a final girl, her character is outstanding. Her performance wasn't exactly Sissy Spacek level. No,
it wasn't. Not at all. Sissy Spacek is incredible in this. Absolutely.
I mean, who else could you throw in the mix in that conversation? Who else could you sort of say deserves that sort of recognition who hadn't quite got it? I mean, Sidney Prescott from Scream, but again, she went on to do fairly well. Not well as she should have done outside of the Scream franchise.
Yeah, I don't know. Friday.
I mean,
the 13th,
list is endless, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. So Friday the 13th didn't really have a final girl, and whenever they did, they proceeded to kill them promptly in the the following
But Friday
movie.
the 13th Part 2, I can't remember the name of the character who's the final girl in that, but she was absolutely outstanding. And she should have had a phenomenal career. But again, she didn't. I guess that's more part due to the shunning of horror as a genre from Hollywood as anything else, I think. I think it's a lot more widely embraced these days than it used to be.
Yeah, I agree. If you like what you've heard, why not pause the episode and leave us a 5-star review if you're listening on Apple or Spotify. If you feel like you want to support us in a more financial way, you can do that. You can do that by going to yourunpodcast.com, buy a T-shirt, buy a sticker, buy a hat, buy anything there. You can also do that by supporting our show sponsor, yay, who stayed with us after Killer Condom. We're sponsored by Dubby Energy, who make energy drinks with no sugar, no fillers, no colours, and no crash. And you can get 10% off by using code URUN10 at checkout. All you need to do is go to their website, which is dubby, DUBBY.GG. If you want to see Carrie, you can do that by renting it everywhere and anywhere in the UK and the US, but it is not streaming for free anywhere. So you need to put your hand in your pocket for that. Last week's anagram was 1977, and we only had 3 correct answers.
Did we?
People struggled last week. Struggled a lot.
Yes, because my movie quote was Saturday Night Fever.
Yes. Night
of course.
Fever,
Night fucking Fever. John Travolta again. He's worming his way back in, isn't he?
You just said you hated him and you're picking his movies. I think
I instantly regret doing that. I apologize.
Have you got some unresolved issues with John Travolta?
I don't know what it is. The guy annoys me. That's all I can say. That's all I can say about him.
What's your movie quote this week?
My movie quote for this week is, how can you talk if you haven't got a brain?
I do it every single week on this show.
Come on, mate. Give yourself a little bit of credit. You've got some sort of thing going on up there.
Yeah. Movie this week is Gone with the Wind. And the song is If I Didn't Care by the Ink Spots.
The Ink Spots?
The Ink Spots, yeah.
Never
I've gone
heard
with
of
a
them.
really obscure one this week. Bit of a roundup. Carrie is one of my favourite Stephen King works as a book, probably my favourite as a book. It's clever, it's unique, it's highly relatable for a huge swathe of people, including me. It's one of the best movie adaptations of his work and sits in my top 10 horror movies of all time. The cinematography is very, very 70s, but it's great. There's some incredible shots in here, like the continuous shot of them dancing that I said was done on the revolving stage with the track, and that's all great. Sissy Spacek is phenomenal and steals the show in every single scene she's in. The supporting cast are great. Practical effects are good. I unapologetically love everything about this. And I also fully endorse her means of revenge. Every single one of those fuckers got what they deserved. I would recommend this to lots of people, but there's one group of people in particular that I think this movie's ideal for, and that is casual horror fans. If you are someone like us who loves horror and you've got a partner or a friend who's not into horror, this is a great movie to bring them into because the story is so solid and they will get invested in Carrie, but it's not over the top nasty horror. There's not lots of gore. It's just something that people will watch. And this is a gateway into more horror. And I think it's great. This movie gets 9 out of 10.
Solid score. Solid roundup.
Why do I feel nervous?
Don't be nervous, man. Don't be nervous. I'm not going to destroy something you love. Would I do that to you?
I've got butterflies in my stomach. just so you know, I've spoken to quite a few people this week about Carrie, and lots of people have said, if Mark comes at this, I'm fucking coming for him.
Oh, that kind of spurs me on a little bit more. I like it. Right. No, jokes aside. As you all know, and you all know my taste in horror, I am a basic bitch when it comes to my love for horror movies. Horror for me is sort of my escapism from reality. I like to just switch off and watch some people get cut up, slashed about. And to be honest with you, if you know me, the worse the better, really, when it comes to my kind of taste in horror films. For me, Carrie is a phenomenal film. There is no denying that. The cinematography is outstanding and it's leagues above what it deserves to be for the era that this film came out in. I want to highlight in particular the final 30 minutes. It's not necessarily the scenes that play out, it's the editing techniques and the way that these shots are captured. There's a strong use of split screen where they'll have Carrie on screen for a long period of time, but also they'll cut the screen into 50-50, and then you'll have a reaction from the audience or the crowd in which he's attacking.
Yeah.
This is a very sort of like a 70s kind of montagey kind of effect that they use throughout this final act, which I thought was outstanding. And as we've mentioned earlier, there's no denying that there's a lot of great films, iconic films in horror, such as Halloween, Friday the 13th, and Nightmare on Elm Street, and all the rest of them that you could possibly think of that have drawn inspiration from the way they have chose to shoot certain scenes within their own films that have clear, I wouldn't go as far as saying rip-offs, but drawn clear inspiration from the way that this film was captured on screen. And for that reason alone, there is no denying that this is an outstanding piece of cinema. The performances from Sissy Spacek, and apologies to Carrie White's mother, who I'm sure is probably dead right now anyway.
No,
really?
Yeah,
really?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Was she playing a character above her age in this film?
I'm going to check it now. You keep going. I'll check.
Yeah, I'll keep ranting. You do your thing on Google. Oscar-worthy performances from both of them, and they are the forefront of this film for the majority of its runtime. And the level of dedication that both of them clearly showed to this role is outstanding. I have issues clearly with John Travolta that I'm not going to get into in my roundup. But again, even though I particularly dislike him as an actor,
Piper Laurie is still alive. She is 91.
Oh, well, fair play to Piper Laurie. Well done to you. Yeah, as much as I take issue with John Travolta as an actor, I kind of felt like this was more sort of suited to his performance. And I say I take issue. I'm doing it again. I'm going on a tangent. Here we go. As much as I take issue with John Travolta as an actor, I kind of quite like him as a villainous character in the films that he's done in the past. So like Swordfish and things like that, he plays the villainous guy very, very well. So I feel like he's kind of suited to that. So maybe that's where my issue lies with him, is that he's not staying in his lane. Stay in your lane, John Travolta.
How dare you, Travolta?
I fucking lost my mind now. One thing, my biggest issue with this film, and I don't know whether this was a product of its time or my own personal disliking to it, came from its score and its soundtrack. It felt very, very heavy and loud in comparison. It felt overused, and when in scenes that it didn't need it. And I think that's more because I like the film so much on its own merit that when they over amplify certain scenes with its score, it just kind of felt unnecessary to me and distracting, and I didn't like the score design or the soundtrack to this film in any sort of way. It could have been toned down and it could have been a lot more mellow, and I think it would have worked for this film. It was really like dramatic and over.
Very.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, almost like how they use the score in Psycho.
Yeah, and it just felt in your face, as if to say, like, this is a dramatic moment. And it's like, we can feel that from the performances from the actors and the actresses, and we don't necessarily need you to musically cue that this is an important scene, because we know that, because we are feeling it as an audience. And for that reason, like, the score really got my back up numerous times throughout this film when it came in. But again, I do think that that's a product of its time and not necessarily a fault with the film. And it's a minor gripe, and I'm literally picking up minor gripes here because this is a great film. But again, as my taste in horror and my own personal enjoyment from why I go to horror films, this storyline was very, very, very long-winded in terms of what it was trying to tell, and there was nothing wrong with it. This is only a personal problem, and I think that I would have just liked to have got to the nitty gritty a lot quicker than it did. This film runs at an hour and 40 minutes, and this could have quite easily been condensed to a steady 130, 125.
Yeah, see, I'd like this extended.
Yeah, and again, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's nothing wrong with that because it's a phenomenal film, and you're right to want more from what you're getting from it. But for me, as an audience member, and what I want from horror films, it felt a little bit long-winded in the areas that I didn't want it to. Considering as well, necessarily, this is a story about if the Wormwoods didn't give Matilda to
Yeah.
the beautiful, nice little teacher. This is it didn't go as fluidly as I would have liked it to for a short, quippy little horror film. And again, like I said, this is nothing wrong with the film. The film is phenomenal, and I did really, really enjoy my time with it and my experience with it. But as a member of dog shit films, can we bracket ourselves as a community? I don't want to go there unless it's not right to say that.
You could bracket yourself as king of the dog shit films, if
right,
you like.
Okay. Well, as king of the dog shit community, this film didn't really fall into my wheelhouse of what I kind of choose to go to for my escapism in horror. But again, I'm not going to take that away from the film with my final score. That is just a personal preference. I'm going to give this I'm torn between 4 out of 5 or a 4.5 out of 5 because it's definitely an important piece of cinematic history and a clearly influential piece of horror genre. So I'm going to go 4 out of 5. But just know that I'm torn between giving that a higher score because I know it deserves it.
Yeah, that's a solid score. And you have now ruined Carrie for me by making the parallel with Matilda.
Come on, as if you didn't pick that up any sooner.
I'm not sure if I'm going to watch Carrie in a different light or Matilda in a different light now.
Oh, now you can watch them both. You can watch Matilda as a prequel.
A companion piece.
Yeah, you can do them as a double bill.
We're back on Monday, and we've got a new release. We haven't done one of those for a while, so I wonder how many times I'll have to go to the cinema to watch this to get my notes done.
Didn't we watch Scream 6 like 2 weeks ago?
I think it was longer than that. I think.
You know I don't take care of the calendar.
I went to the cinema 3 times. I want everyone who listens to know that when we do a new release, it costs me a fucking fortune in popcorn, just so you're all aware.
Yeah, because actually it's not cheap these days.
The cinema itself is fine if I went in there, just sat and watched the movie, but I don't. I go in with my notepad and my pen. I go in with a massive Diet Coke.
Large combo deal.
Large combo deal. And then I watch it. I don't get all my notes done. And then I go back out. I paid to go back in again. And then I sit there and I ignore the first half of the movie to get to the bit where I run out of notes and then carry on.
Well, this is not going to end well for you because we've got Evil Dead Rise coming up in the next week too as well.
We have, but I've got a funny feeling that'll be all right. Anyway, that's my problem, not all of yours. Your problem is next week we're looking at the 2 Nicks, Nick Holt and Nick Cage, as we go all Universal monsters for a new generation as we tackle Renfield. But until then, have a lovely week, and for fuck's sake, be nice to each other, because you might just upset someone and they might have superpowers.
That would be awesome. If you have superpowers...
Oh, what power would you have? What power would you have?
I think I always go to flying. I would like to fly. I'd like the experience of flying. I don't know how beneficial that would be in terms of the range of superpowers. So what would you go for?
Invisibility.
Yeah, because you're a pervert.
No, because I could walk into a bank and take as much money as I wanted whenever I wanted. And
so you would be a villain in that sense then. You would not use your powers for good.
No, I definitely would not use my powers for good. That's not even a question. I would not be using my invisibility to save people. I'd be using it to build an empire.
I don't even feel how invisibility would be used beneficial to saving people's lives. It's like if a building's burning down, being invisible is not going to help you.
No. However, if a big fight broke out and there was lots of people around, invisibility would get me out of the building safely.
Oh, no, I've got it. I would be Quicksilver. Boom. Oh, no, even better. I would have Bernard's watch. Do you remember Bernard's watch?
No.
You don't remember Bernard's watch?
No. What's Bernard's watch?
Bernard's Watch was a kids' TV program. It had like the magic watch, like the little pocket watch, and then when he pressed this button, it stopped time, and then he could go and do all this crazy shit. And then as soon as he clicked the button again, then the watch would kick on a normal time. Like he could freeze time.
You can have that just by getting up earlier and going to bed later.
I am amazed that you don't know what Bernard's Watch is. Man, audience, if you know what Bernard's Watch is, please tell Scott the kind of childhood trauma he's missing out on.
If anyone knows what Bernard's Watch is, call the show.
Everybody knows what Bernard's Watch is.
They don't. Anyway.
They do. This girl loves horror. This girl loves horror. You've got my back on this. I know you have.
No one's got your back on this. Anyway, we're going. We'll catch you all next week.
Cheers, guys. See you next week.
Before we forget, you want to die tonight?
The cheaper, nastier, the better for me.
Would you have stayed after this?
Sorry, man. I was completely off guard there.
He's in his coffin. He's the undead.
This was the best bit of the film.
This is not the last time someone's going to steal your man.
Yeah, Mark's not a nice guy.
You didn't notice this scene. It looks like he's got an extra leg.
Yeah, I've got nothing. I've literally got nothing here. Surely that'd be even worse. The more listeners we have, the worse that's going to be.
Yeah, but I will just get a new phone.
Oh, I tell a lie, actually. Yeah, because we used to have teletext.
Art the Clown makes Michael Myers and Jason Voorhees look like pussies.
I can only assume that this was due to budgetary reasons and they couldn't afford enough extras.
Are you going to have Busta Rhymes in your list of characters?
Mate, I can't believe you don't know Idle Hands.
I'm going to ram my foot down his fucking throat. It was awesome.
It fucking wasn't awesome.